the table tennis president and the man who is trying to unseat him. That has been making the rounds. They've had to put in a committee headed by Mr. Anthony Davis to see if they could get the two parties to see eye to eye on when the elections will be. We want to talk to two former table tennis presidents to see how they see all of what is happening in table tennis at the moment. We should be talking to Keith Garvey and also Peter Moo Young for them to tell us how can we solve all of the issues that's going on in table tennis at the moment. Because although Anthony Davis has come on and is trying to be the same voice between the two groups, we understand that there could still be some issues. Peter Moo Young, former president of the JTTA, joins us. Hi, Peter, how you do?
Hey, Alvin, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, Peter. Has been a while, eh?
Yeah, man, long time.
We don't have too much time. Table tennis still involves a set of drama. We're not sure where at this point what's going to be happening. As much as Anthony Davis is trying to get the two parties to agree to at least the voters list. Let me hear your take on all that's happening and how it can be resolved.
I think Anthony Davis is going to have a mammoth task. The Table Tennis Association, is elected by a funny kind of mechanism. The mechanism is that there's a list of clubs, and those clubs are not necessarily grounded or reflective of how many clubs there really exist in Jamaica. So you retain or lose the presidency hanging on what the list of clubs is. So there was a list of 100 odd clubs on which the current president won the elections. Yeah. And, others have been crying out about this list of clubs for the longest time. So what's happening now is that they are trying to ratify a list which has been peered down by Anthony and company in terms of verifying which clubs actually exist. That list of clubs is down to 40 odd now, on which they are going to choose where they're going to run the elections. The problem is that, as you can well imagine, that it's in some people's interest to have certain clubs and some people's interest not to have certain clubs. Now, only 2 or 3 places that you can go play table tennis in Kingston is JDF, down at the camp.
But they have been disenfranchised the last time we heard.
This is the point. And I, for example, I have a club that all the best players in Jamaica play at my club. It's called Atlantic Sharks. We are the champions of Jamaica. We have 4 of the top 5 people playing at my club regularly, including myself. and we don't have a vote either. And yet, I hear Kingston St. Andrew Cricket Club as a vote, and other people, cricket club,
yes.
And other people, they get to decide who's the president. And my club does not have a voice. Many clubs don't have a voice, and some of these clubs we don't know. So I think Anthony Davis will have a mammoth task trying to sort this out.
But here's what I want to know, Peter. We've had table tennis elections with presidents before. I remember Keith Garvey, I remember yourself, and so on. Why wasn't there these issues during those elections? Why was this brouhaha not happening then? And basically, what can we do to ensure that this, well, we have to get through this election first, whenever that happens. But how do we ensure that all of this doesn't happen leading into the next election? When
we need
all
to
of this
restore common sense to the thing, Arville. A table tennis club is what you think it should be. A club should be a place with some tables and people who play, and that's a club. I don't think a club should be a list of things that none of us know about until the time you come to vote. And that is what the problem is. So Anthony's going to have to sort out and find these clubs. If you come to Jamaica and you ask where to play, you look at that list of clubs, I don't think you'll find many places to play. And there are a couple of places where everybody plays that aren't on the list of clubs. It needs some common sense.
Well, I tell you, news surfacing that the chairman of the Affiliate Dispute Resolution Foundation, Table Tennis, is at a crossroads in terms of the election and a final delegates list. Is it a case that this may end up heading to the courts, you think?
I think he might have to head back to the courts because the court made some judgments and gave some ultimatums, and I don't think these were followed. And even if you have the elections on this list, in my opinion, it's a flawed list. It does not represent the voice of the people who play. And that's what democracy is supposed to be, the voice of the people, no?
I'm also hearing a little whisper that Mr. Davis has said, listen, I'm biting off more than I can chew. And may not be the man in the middle to solve the dispute anymore. And this is not looking good, none at all, Peter.
I can neither confirm nor deny that. I haven't heard anything from Anthony. What I can tell you is that you might have to reconstitute the body and start from scratch in order to come to an amicable solution.
My sources are pretty good, and it's not looking good as far as Mr. Davis is concerned.
Okay, but that's news to me.
Yes.
If you ask me, I saw it in the middle, because I'm not running for office, or I will not be for either party. If you ask me, I would say a group of elder statesmen need to reconstitute the thing.
All right. From where you sit, Peter, which of the two, because for the two parties not to be coming together, that's Godfrey Lothian and Andrew Liu, the challenger. For both parties not to be able to see eye to eye on several things, including that voters list, who do you think should get a greater share of the blame for the fact that this impasse continues in table tennis?
The association is responsible for table tennis, and the impasse is a reflection of how it's being managed at the moment. It's always the head that wears the crown on which things weigh most heavily. Wouldn't you agree? And so, in my opinion, unfortunately, I have to say, whoever is in charge has to respond to the 60 situation or get the blame.
All right. One of the things I'm understanding is that Mr. Davis was recommended by Godfrey Lothian, and if it is true, so